Well, we have a trilogy of shows this week. Tonight, Thursday and Saturday. Tonight's show will link in with Saturday eventually. So, very detailed oriented show, as I mentioned on the chat. And very interesting and lots of dot connecting. Right, this is the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Enjoy from Russia with Love. Plus 10. Hi all and welcome to another show of THI, and today's date is 11/9. What is it? 9/11? Or is it all the same? Like everything else in their world, it's mirrored backwards, and we'll find out more backwards mirroring in this show. Now in Expose 10 we made mention of the Red Cube AI technology. And here is some more potential interesting background into that. And I only came across this piece in early September that aligns with my own knowledge base, plus bits I've learned from others in the past. And I must thank the website ascensionglossary.com for the bulk of this report, that large chunks of which resonate with my understanding, and as always I will add more as we go through the information given. Now I'm more familiar with the black cube technology than the red, that has multiple uses, from the Mecca black cube harvesting rock, to the black cube portal trap that was around the sun, to the soul cubes collection devices that stole many a soul under the banner of Nut and Jeb. The stars under the archway of Nut in the hieroglyphs represent the souls they had captured via that technology. I have witnessed some people cough up these black cubes. It is an unpleasant sight, but also a freeing one. And whilst I don't agree with all of the piece, there is sufficient crossover of this that eventually forms a pattern and reveals a revelation to and of that pattern. That will be revealed on this coming Saturday, which will be another big dot connector that is closer to home. But for a while now I have warned of technology, and some of this show will reveal more of its devastating uses and how far advanced it is to our own, and the devastating consequences it can bring. We must not go down the full path of technology being implemented now, and must resist for the future of the children and grandchildren's sakes. Largely, psychopaths implement the top levels of technology, and the public is by and large oblivious to its ancient nature and think of it all in terms of the future. That is our biggest mistake. There is no new technology. All of it is long in the past and rehashed and introduced to have negative impacts on we the people on this planet and many other planets throughout this universe. Rebel souls, deserters we are called. Yes indeed, and that's why we're all still here. Now, an artificial tree of life was cloned into a substructure in which this red cube Egyptian pantheon tree is used as the main grid architecture for cloning Sarah's Egyptian identities from Tara that are connected to the Azurites on Gaia. Now the acacia tree of Seos, or Seosis, S-A-O-S-I-S, almost sounds like Osiris, is considered by Egyptians as the tree of life. And as per the Ennead system, 9 deities of ancient Egyptian culture, Isis and Osiris, are believed to be the first couple, and they are said to have emerged from the tree of life, the acacia of Seosis. Now incidentally, Seosis is also the name of an Egyptian goddess, and the Egyptian goddess Lusarset Lusaaset, meaning the great one who comes forth was considered the grandmother of all Egyptian gods, except for their husband and the sun god Tem or Atum, or better known as Amun-Ra. Now, similar in appearance to the later goddess Hathor and Isis, they're all one and the same, Lusaaset is depicted as wearing the Egyptian vulture crown surmounted with the uraeus, which is the Kundalini cobra, and a solar disk between two horns. And these Egyptian beliefs and symbolisms are repeated in Christianity. The Kundalini snake. Oh my. Another New Age fake spiritual narrative exposed. Now the names Juseus, Orseus, Seosis, Lusas, Jusas are all variations of Lusaaset, with Jusas still the preferred spelling for Jesus in some cultures. Furthermore, it is said Jesus may have been represented the alchemical union of the sun and Venus to the Hebrews, a kind of incarnation of the all-seeing Eye of Ra or the Eye of Horus. But the similarities do not stop there. The tree of life in the garden of Heliopolis may be the same tree of life described in the biblical Garden of Eden. Its hallucinogenic fruit would have been the forbidden fruit of knowledge. And from this we might conclude that the wine said to be drank by Jesus and his apostles could have been the Urip wine, YRP, from the sacred acacia fruit used to induce a spiritual rebirth in the fashion of Venus. Now, this interpretation is reinforced by the Latin name Lucifer, meaning Lusas Feri, or light bearer, which refers to Venus as the morning star rising bright in the dawn's early light. Thus, the all-seeing eye is sometimes called the Eye of Lucifer. But when Venus is viewed as both the morning star and the evening star represented by the Egyptian god Set, the composite name Lusaaset or Lusaaset becomes an even greater symbol of resurrection into the night or afterlife. And these red cubed cloned identities are used to power up the black magic money, debt, enslavement structures put in place by the Orion Group and used by the cabal bankers to manipulate financial markets and maintain global wealth in the hands of their satanic and Luciferian bloodlines. Thus, the true and accurate Egyptian history was replaced with the Black Sun agenda of inserting the AI red cube tree of life for representing the Egyptian pantheon of gods along with their black magic rituals. Now, this cloned pantheon was to be enforced through worship by the installation of the Setian king lines, Hyksos and the Amun snake priesthood. Now, Setian is the fake god Set, and Amun snake priesthood is Ra and the Cohens. And these groups in the Middle East would eventually integrate into the Greek mystery schools and further evolve into the corrupted lineages of the secret societies that formed the Luciferian Knights Templars and Freemasonry. And these secret societies were initiated into the secrets of the artificial tree of life through the great Ennead, or Ennead, in which the Egyptian pantheon was cloned for use in black magic ritual, being supported by the NAA to maintain their power, manipulating timelines and human consciousness since the Sumerian Egyptian invasion. Now, NAA means negative alien agenda. And this agenda is to force the planet to serve another multiple species controller agenda through imposing false replicated time fields using biowarfare technology, such as holographic inserts, AI and mind control, namely created under genetically reptilian-based archons extraterrestrials at the expense and life force of the human race and the kingdoms under human domain. Now, the NAA, negative alien agenda, can be best understood as a psychopathic personality or identity profile with a lack of empathy that has no feelings of remorse. And I think we've all witnessed that. Now, one such negative manipulation is installing the Armageddon software into the planetary brain in order to install false father negative alien religions based on serving the Yahweh and Jehovian Anunnaki collectives. Armageddon, Yahweh and Jehovah. I wonder which race worships them. The Israelis, who say they are Jews but they are not, hence the Hebrew Anunnaki term I now call them by. But these are extra-dimensional and interdimensional beings that have lost their consciousness connection to God's source and are utilizing humans and other beings as their food source and siphon life force like a parasite to live for thousands of years, just like the movie Jupiter Ascending showed us. Now, they do not have access to incarnate into human bodies, so they covet human bodies and they want to take them over or use them in the future. Remember the ending of From Russia with Love +8 about the Masons and the Vril that brought in the series Stargate? Well, there you have what is and has been going on. And of course, I've also spoken about the variety of host possessions in a piece 2 to 3 years back, which we may revisit soon. Now, extraterrestrials that are hybridized with reptilian-based genetics operate in strict hierarchical systems of rank and defer to their superior groups. Now, the Dracos or Draconians from Alpha Draconis are in command of Earth-based subterranean reptilians. Not all reptilians are the same. There are many varieties of them. And those subterranean reps who respect their superiors in the belief system that the Dracs are those who hold ownership over Earth and human beings, which is not the case. Not anymore anyway. Now, Draco reptilians view themselves as the most intelligent species in the universe, and that Earth humans are a result of their biological seeding processes from multiple planets. They lie. They have hunted us down for millennia for our life force essence, and no, they are not superior to us at all. They are weak and fearful of us. Otherwise, they would have no need to try to control us. People who control other people or beings are weak. Remember that. Now, the Alpha Draconis Draco have a royal class that appear to be lighter colours, white-skinned scales with winged appendages, and are about 2 to 3 times the size of an average human and very muscular. Now, I did see Anu in that form, so I do know they exist in that format, plus the hieroglyphs also show them in that likeness. They are the angels of the Bible, whether fallen ones or not. And I have told you the Bible is their story, not ours. Now, they're quite menacing and tyrannical, showing little mercy to an entity of their own race, never mind others, that they think has defied their orders or responsibility to manage their earthly resources. And the Earth-based reptilians are in command over the EBE, or biological entities known as small greys. Not so much anymore. Now, the reptilians have developed high psionic abilities, which they use for mind controlling other entities, and do not have an emotional body or soul body. Now, that is the soulless entities we have spoken about. But in relation to the Draco themselves, unless they have spawned offspring devoid of a soul or created bot-like versions of themselves, the idea of they have no soul is actually not correct. And this is something the humanoid Abraxas told them, to then hunt down the white race people as we know it by. And so it was all a lie, so the Abraxas could take over the prime real estate known as Earth. And again, that was a line in the Jupiter Ascending movie. Now, the known reptilian races on Earth have made a variety of cooperative agreements with the higher ranks of human government and military, which have resulted in shadow government black projects, such as secret space programs, the SSP, another saviour program, which is a load of crap, my labs, and the creation of the military-industrial complex to experiment and exploit alien-based technologies and craft that they have been given access through their cooperation. Well, you can thank President Eisenhower for that. The trade for that tech was the use of 2% of humans on the planet for abductions and genetic experimentation on us. But it quickly spiralled out of control as they were using around 10%. And efforts to stop that failed, and some underground wars broke out. Now, the Dracs are an extremely militant, misogynistic and warring species that are very involved in controlling the power elite, financial, pharmaceutical and banking institutions, promoting war and killing through increasing militarization, poverty consciousness, human enslavement programming, religious violence, terrorism and the harvesting of humanity's DNA through abduction and experimentation, as well as other species they have under their control. Now, it's my understanding their control of the other species is now ended. But the stupid power elite got wrapped into this program due to their own greed and lust for power. But their power is an illusion. None of them know the full order until Shane and I outed all of them in a show 6 years ago. That show sent ripples across the world that still resonates today, as did the follow-up to that, the Faction show. Now, during the DJOSA, FHSTOS invasion from a 5D wormhole that was used to take over operational portals in the region. The NAA infiltration of the FHSTOS regime began by murdering those who had access to Atlantean Arc tools that were operating the portals. And draconian satanic controlled forces first invaded the region of Saqqara, which began the gradual infiltration of lunar consciousness black magic spells and blood ritual practices. And they were designed to override and reverse the solar consciousness practices of those following the law of one. Now, I suspect that reference to the law of one is not the fake version pushed by Wilcock, and something that predates it a very long time back. But you know by now how they corrupt all good things, like the original swastika. But perhaps the original was something I received in vision 3 years ago, one-on-one with the one. Maybe that is the law of one. And from this point of the Egyptian invasion during the 3rd dynasty, the NAA introduced incantations, spells, and lunar satanic blood sacrifice philosophies. In other words, the Kalimar Lilith moon cult, which included the insertion of the artificial tree of Egyptian gods, where these cloned identities would be worshipped and manipulated through black magic rituals. And in this way they set up the satanic alien religion in Egypt by introducing black magic spells and rituals to contact the NAA, who used the artificial tree and AI cube system to manage the cloned false gods and gather the energy exchanges between the humans on the earth, worshipping them in rituals. Oops. Remember when I said you are not praying, P-R-A, but being preyed upon, P-R-E-Y. Well, there's your answer. And this artificial tree system exchanges in multiple timelines and involves a type of time travelling through different satanic portals that were set up for this purpose by these alien entities. Now, the artificial tree system is the Kabbalah. It is the tree of death, not life. It even says it on it, the earth, the tree of the earth, death. Thus, these same cloned identities are in use today, along with their symbolism and black magic religion that is deeply entwined within the controller pillars of society and enforces black magic Egyptian curses on the global money supply. Now, Black Dragon AI hybrids and assorted demonic entities protect these black magic money systems and defend their servants, many of which appear to be well-known politicians, CEOs, and international bankers, with a silent W. Now, remember, I've stated in the past the coloured dragon groups were all ran by reps. There is another confirmation. And the FHSTOS invasion timeline is the trigger event in relationship to dismantling the Red Nile cube cloned identities that are used in an artificial Egyptian pantheon, in which these identities have been cloned and worshipped in black magic rituals within secret society pyramidal organizations used by the bloodlines to gather mass amounts of energy from the NAA to carry out the one world order of Satan. And this AI cube technology is a Gordian knot of inversions, reversals, clones, false history, human blood sacrifice covenants, and Satanism enmeshed throughout human civilization. Now, the Gordian knot was the loops, and many tried to unravel it, when the simpler solution was to cut it. And that was achieved back in the 2013-2014 time. And this is why the other two worlds drifted apart and will get wider from a 3D perspective, but does not exist within the organic 3D reality. Now, in order for humanity to begin to unravel this mess of cloned identities and AI cube technology, we have to first see how the corrupt financial structure has been using human child blood sacrifice as its underpinning in order to globally enslave human beings. Now, that banking system and that financial system was destroyed 2.5 to 3 years ago. That's what we're seeing now. Artificial systems were created throughout human society by alien forces which were not sustainable in natural systems. And what that is describing is the difference between organic and inorganic. And so what they did was they set up blood sacrifice of innocents via Satanism in order to conjure the sorcery and siphon the soul energy through ritual worship of AI false gods. Oops. And this confirms a piece I did a year ago now. Remember, the piece is the God of the Bible, an AI cloud-based sky god? Well, now you know. Egyptian pantheon, Osiris, Isis, etc., which was required to maintain their corrupt power and financial stronghold for total world domination. The Red Nile Cube technology. Why does it not surprise us, that name or that region? And why we all in denial? Now, the Red Cube AI technology is designed to be a genetic code crusher for the anti-herogamic union, or to create interference through an alien love bite scenario. And that engages that person in heavy emotional dramas via the victim-victimizer archetypes and mistaken identity by keeping the inner and outer gender principles split apart. I'll repeat that again, because it will become clearer. That engages that person in heavy emotional dramas via the victim-victimizer archetypes and mistaken identity by keeping the inner and outer gender principles split apart. Now, the Red Cube technology capitalizes on painful emotional astral damage and mistaken identity, confusing identities so that the target cannot tell who is who. What are the false timelines and imposters versus the authentic identity? The targeted person can mistake AI digital twins inserted into their hologram as their twin soul, or whatever else that can be included to interfere with integrated spiritual ascension by confusing them with mistaken identity or hero-savior archetypes. And this includes the target believing that they are this special identity from an inserted digital twin of a cloned ascended master in their light body, in which this clone runs AI red wave, false feminine violet programming, or other artificial frequencies, which is quite common in the New Age circles, without negative ego training and victimize clearings. Egyptian 9 Ennead. Now the Ennead was a group of 9 deities in Egyptian mythology and were worshipped at Heliopolis and consisted of the god Atum, his children Shu and Tefnut, their children Jeb and Nut, and their children Osiris, Isis, Set and Nephthys. And the creation account of Heliopolis relates that from the primeval waters represented by Nun, N-U-N. It's funny how the church always represents these Egyptian identities. A mound appeared on which the self-begotten deity Atum sat. Now, he was said he was bored and alone, and Atum spat, producing Shu, representing the air, and Tefnut, representing moisture. And Shu and Tefnut mated and brought forth Geb, representing the earth, not quite, and Nut, representing the nighttime sky. And because of their initial closeness, Jeb and Nut engaged in continuous copulation until Shu separated them, lifting Nut into her place in the sky. And the children of Jeb and Nut, who were the sons Osiris and Set, and the daughters Isis and Nephthys, what a family that is, which in turn formed couples, incestuous ones at that. Do you now understand why the Bible mentions incest 54 times? Because there's your answer. But there are significant and positive changes taking place in our universal matrix at this time, which are happening at progressively higher dimensional levels. And each next layer of access is bringing more recovery and rehabilitation, bringing disclosure and ascension that much closer. And while things may look very confusing and dire on the outer scape, these massive shifts at architectural levels are making it increasingly difficult for negative forces to maintain themselves. And this is a time to be steadfast in our dedication to know the truth and to nurture our inner spirit and source connection, as we now have progressively more access to both our inner spirit and source connection. Now, the day of the Sfarog aids this process as well. But the return of the solar Rishi into the matter worlds is a significant event that has generated massive impacts to the timeline architecture of this reality, and is why we focus on the current Guardian projects and direct impacts made to the future timeline of the 7D Gaian matrix. Now personally, I don't like the Gaia or matrix. Gaia in Masayan is pronounced, funny enough, Maga. But it also means earth. And the question is, which one? As earth just means inhabited planet. And this new configuration has radically changed the galactic and metagalactic core configuration, and this is continually unfolding new organic timeline patterns for ascension within the planetary architecture. And the 8D metagalactic core is also the Gaian planetary core, which previously held in place a black sun in the 8th portal that was configured from an exact AI replica of the Gaian matrix during the Electric Wars. Now, during last winter solstice, gold body activation, which is a 6th harmonic universe for 6, 7 and 8D, was completed, and this is gradually restoring the Gaian matrix to its original pre-fall state. And this was directed through an intervention which non-dimensionalized cosmic God source fields emerged to host this newly created harmonic universe surrounding and permeating Gaia within a new universal mother dark matter matrix to correct timeline damage resulting from the Electric War invasion. And from within the restored Gaian planetary core shines a Christos infinity sun, which emanates its solar plasmic rays for the gold sun DNA body from 8D. This is, as a side note, the interference frequency also came from 8D, or what we know as 8D. And it was a negative frequency that went all the way to Long Island, Montauk. That was cut off in November of 2014. And maybe a bush went on fire that day, only to turn up 4 years later and go on fire again. But the Christos Infinity Sun may well be one of the power packs I described in the last show about the climate change nonsense, as I know one of those was returned to a sun back in the 2016-17 time period. Now, as well as assorted RH Sun Star solar factors designed to spiritualize our bloodstream in crystal waters and to ignite plasmic coding within our neurological system for the transfiguration of our etheric body and 3D consciousness. And the amethyst order and violet flame yanas and ram yanas from the RHA God world creation have been instrumental with organising extensive emancipation gridwork projects that are happening in the Gaian matrix to restore universal tribal records for angelic versions of humanity. Now, I can confirm much grid and energy work has been done on many levels or planes, including this one back in 2018. But personally, I just wouldn't have described it with those names or terms. And these are assortments of Magi, Grail, King, Queen instruction sets that restore Gaia's consciousness record for the Ascended Master lineages including embodiment of the Gaian architecture that holds the original founder emanations of the 48 DNA-stranded azurites. 48 strands. And the tri-matrix of the azurites include 3 48-stranded matrices that hold 144 dimensions that are accessed from within a quad merged core manifestation template known as the 12-tree grid. And that is based on the Eka God World configurations and the access into the 7 higher heavens. Now the triality of 48 is 144. 148, 248, 348. 1 on 1 with the 1. Now these particular Christos diamond sun body templates are forming complex crystal cathedral alignments for the solar rishi and founder lineages to pour their consciousness body into by braiding themselves back to the Gaian matrix, which is freeing many more ascended master identities that were being trapped in the Black Sun constructs. And again, while some of the details may be correct, some of the wording of them or naming of them I don't agree with personally. But the details, in essence, are correct. Now, having a greater awareness of events happening in the Gaian matrix that are eradicating what is known as Holocaust timelines and alien machinery used by the Black Suns from the Electric Wars and Hyperborea, the Aria, for timeline bleed through on Earth. And what that sounds like to me is the Vril technology. And it also helps us to better understand the hidden spiritual warfare behind the aggressive pushing of toxic nano injections that are currently being mass marketed to the Earth population. And everything happening on Earth at this time is connected to the spiritual war happening at multiple dimensional levels, whether we can understand this is taking place or not. The 7D Gaia and Paleodorian seeding. The planet Earth exists in 3 main formed identities in the universal time matrix, and the timelines for 3D Earth are called Earth or Terra, and the timelines for 5D Earth are called Tara, and the timelines for 7D Earth are called Gaia. And what I believe she is describing there in her own way is the 3 worlds. But also, we are not called Earth, it is Midgard. Now Tara is also related to the wife of the Earth god known as Perun, whom we covered in the very first episode of From Russia with Love. And Tara is also related to the crystal needles, which is the Stargate now closed until safe to reopen it. And that connected us to 3 other constellations: the Great Bear, the Small Bear, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, Leo, and Orion at the time. But due to the cataclysm that occurred on Tara, which exploded portions of the main planetary grid manifestation template, the 5D Taran planet was separated from its 7D Gaian counterpart in future time. I imagine that's just triggered some of you. And essentially the result of the planetary grid damage trapped the Soul family matrix on Tara and the monadic family matrix on Gaia to be locked down in their respective harmonic universes, unable to communicate or link with each other. This is why we're cut off. And this cataclysmic event generated separation between 5D and 7D timelines, which further created damage between the soul and monadic layers in our angelic human consciousness body. And as a result of this cataclysm, humanity was unable to fully unite and integrate the soul aspects that were trapped in the 5D timelines with the monadic aspects that were trapped in the 7D timelines. Now, integrating the shadow aspects can also reintegrate the soul aspects as well. And this is why it is important, along with the healing of the family line at this current time. Now, the race lines of the Pleiadians began their rescue mission for the Tarans through the parallel systems, parallel universes, by first working in the etheric layers of Gaia to correct morphogenetic instruction sets for DNA strands, to be reassembled in order to retrieve the lost souls and help them ascend out. Why do you think there's a big focus on DNA and RNA now? What are they trying to counteract? And they began to seed themselves through the first two root races called the Polarians of Gaia and the Hyperboreans as their counterpart upon Gaia's antiparticle double. And through the Polarian and Hyperborean DNA instruction sets, the law of polarity and the law of gender were first seeded into this universe. And this method was designed to attract the polarity fractures into energetic synthesis, and to then merge consciousness life streams that existed in the fractured soul and the monadic body parts, and pulling them together on multiple dimensions simultaneously. Remember the piece I used to do at the end of the show. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. And through the etheric layers of Gaia, these two root races began a long evolutionary journey to slowly rebuild the ascension template by first uniting soul and monadic extensions. Now, personally, I believe what they're talking about there is the white race. That goes back to Lara. But everyone has different terms depending on who they engage. Now, leading to the ultimate fulfillment of the embodied avatar Christos liquid plasma, that is made possible through the I'm struggling with words today. Paradisian seventh root rate lines in the future. Now, this was designed to pull together and unite all of the exploded planetary grids to merge the Earth, Tara and Gaia, as well as reassemble the damaged DNA and spiritual body parts of the angelic human race lines that were first seeded upon Tara. And once the instruction sets were in place in the etheric layers of the Gaian planetary matrix, the Pleiadians began the process of reseeding angelic humanity, this time on the 3D timelines of Earth. Now, millions of years ago, 6 linked time portals were made from the Paleodorian consciousness instruction sets, and this created the sphere of Amenti, and that was connected in the Earth core. Now, Amenti is described as 6 time portal passages and a gateway out of 3D, but Amenti is also the name of the gateway to the underworld and Hades. And this is why I'm having some difficulty with the names. Of course, those names could have all been the originals, and the dark forces corrupted their meaning. And this was devised in order to finally achieve the end result of planetary ascension through assembling and repairing every dimensional level of DNA over many evolutionary timeline cycles. And this allowed all timelines that existed on Earth, Tara and Gaia to be interconnected again, so the Earth could evolve forward in time and finally merge with its higher dimensional counterparts in the future time cycle. And it was also designed to heal the rip in time and find fractured body parts stuck in time, which was strewn all over the universe from the cataclysm events, serving multiple purposes to merge the layers together, reassemble DNA, evolve and ascend the souls that could merge with their monadic family, and finally move out of time and back into the Godhead source. Perhaps Tara is another name for Tiamat. Like I said, the names are mixed up depending on which group or people you engage. But healing the rip in time, repairing DNA and merging with the future time cycle per se, I do agree with that concept. It is and has been ongoing. And perhaps the pondering question, could it be that Tara and Gaia were just copies of the copy? And perhaps the reintegration of only Midgard emerges as the real organic world. I will learn to survive, and that we have. Now, the next part of this is the conflict over seeding, electric wars, and the Gaian phantom body. And the first seedings of the first 2 root races of angelic humanity occurred on the 7D version of our planet that exists in the higher frequency bands of future time in the Gaian matrix. And it's said that the Gaian matrix is the higher frequency future timeline of Tara, and seeding in the etheric layers began concurrently to help neutralize the destructive impacts of the fall of Tara, and that had happened in the past timelines, like loops. Now the electrical wars broke out, and there were anti-human race sympathizers that joined with neighbouring star systems as conflicts existed in allowing a failed human seeding experiment to be started up again. And that was the interference of the Atlanteans and also Antlanteans, plus several other races. And some races thought the Taran explosion was due to extreme negligence, and this cataclysm had generated extreme damage and genetic mutations, subjecting other civilizations to genetic digression. Now, reading that statement, it certainly does look like to me she is describing Tara as Tiamat. Thus they demanded that any future human seeding be sealed off and quarantines generated to protect higher dimensional realms from absorbing any further damage. And yes, I can confirm this planet and indeed the solar system is in a quarantine. Nobody gets out and nobody comes in. And whilst it's probably is seen as nobody comes in, the very fact that nobody gets out is the key portion of it. Hello, Mr. Kissinger. The founders and Lyran Elohim negotiated with other neighbouring systems and races that were in conflict with allowing Taran angelic human lines to continue to evolve on the earth. And essentially, when human consciousness was no longer considered a direct threat to other planets or to universal Stargate security, the quarantines and seals were to be lifted and assistance given to those who truly desire to spiritually evolve. Assistance given to those who truly desire to spiritually evolve, and said to be practicing the law of one in order to release these quarantine seals. And it is the returning RHA families and RA Confederacy, Ra Confederacy, that generally oversee these requests when a human being truly and sincerely dedicates themselves to the process of bio-spiritual consciousness healing and is willing to place effort in their spiritual practice in order to ascend into higher consciousness. Now, the Ra Confederacy is not the cult of Ra we speak about. But again, it is all about the names and perspectives. And it was in the Gaian timelines many hundreds of millions of years ago that the original Guardian Azerite race incarnated into etheric forms, and these race lines are the direct genetic lineages of angelic human beings seeded upon Tara and currently in this density of the earth. And essentially the Taran angelic human higher god body was connected to the Guardian Azerites in the etheric levels of the Gaian matrix. And the combination of the Taran cataclysm and electric wars which found their way to Gaia destroyed both Azerite and Taran diamond sun genetic templates, as they were intimately entwined together. Now, the Azerite race are from Sirius B, and I'm personally not familiar with that name, and they are said to have merged in terms of genetics with a felinoid race, an avian hominid, and a Pleiadian avian hominid, all of which sounds like the ones who interfered with us here to me. Now, Pleiadian avian is the Thoth group, and the felinoids who were with him on the Egyptian hieroglyphs were from Sirius A. Now, the onset of the invasion of the WESA, WESA entities through the metagalactic core directly impacted the Gaian core and contributed to a series of electrical wars in Orion, and this included the timeline bleeding through into the Gaian wars. And during the Gaian invasion, an entire planetary shadow body was formed through the use of advanced black hole technology, the Demiurge, in which an AI replication of the Gaian matrix was captured. And this was made for the purpose of capturing Gaian frequency and generating feedback loops of harvested energy in order to send that current back through the WESA tunnel. Loops and tunnels in space we have covered before in our shows, but the Orion Wars were as far back as 1.5 million years ago. And it could be that this person is confused with the looping matrix and not what existed before that. Now, the matrix loop she spoke of, created by the black hole technology, is the inorganic copy of the original. And they collected mass amounts of energy from the Gaian matrix in order to form a phantom black sun in the metagalactic core, which would act as an NAA base in 8D, which frequency-wise was connected with Long Island, New York, and run metatronic reversals throughout the lower dimensions. And this essentially acted as a frequency fence, making it impossible for founder races to breach the net and gain access to the human race stationed in the lower timelines. And this also cut us off from direct connections to source, only achieved now by going out of time. And similar to a quarantine, but remember I spoke of the frequencies of the past returning for those ready to receive them? Because there you have further confirmation of it. Now, the invading black hole entities desired to build an extensive virtual reality playground with assorted planetary systems. And this was for the purpose of inhabiting their race lines with the use of extremely advanced AI black hole technology, which then formed into a black sun, which also feeds them energy to maintain an immortal existence. And this is how and why the term batteries came from. They just harvested our energy to feed themselves. But if you wish to know why we are different, as mentioned within our shows, this is why. They required the source creation code for planetary body blueprints. And so they actually stole the original creation code from the Gaian matrix. But there's your answer. And they also needed access to continue to harvest living energy matrices in order to replicate black sun shadow body planetary systems within their phantom systems or inorganic systems in Wessa. And to handle the energetic load, they built extensive levels of what is known as beast machine architecture and assorted metatronic alien machinery with Gaian stolen creation codes, including the Azurite DNA. This is how they did their genetic manipulation. And this content then became the shadow body form, utilizing metatronic death coding that ran reversal current loops designed to sustain these parasitic matrices from within artificial timelines. And that is describing the loops we have spoken about several times now, and also how it is linked to artificial time. And perhaps the term I mentioned a while back, we are 10,000 years behind the real organic space line. Perhaps that now makes more sense. Now, during the stages of invasion to conquer Gaia, made through a series of electrical war campaigns, they increasingly used the living matrix of the Gaian body. Remember, all planets are living beings. And this was further siphoning from our system through all of the other dimensions and timeline densities by running metatronic reversals from the metagalactic core, which pulled life force from out of the grid network of our entire planetary matrix. Just one giant energy harvesting. And the planetary grid work was completed in autumn of 2019. We may have to go and look at it again, but by and large, that was done to reverse the flow of the harvesting energy system into a clockwise source energy flow on this planet. And that was completed in autumn of 2019. Now, the generation of the Gaian shadow or the Gaian phantom body during the final stages of the Gaian Wars was the primary causal event in the human Holocaust timelines. And that has been feeding and holding together the first matrix origination of the artificial tree of life reversal patterns or blended reality systems. And the artificial tree of life is a base 10 reversal matrix designed to run metatronic reversal or antichrist death current. Further infected the entire planetary matrix and angelic human DNA through its monadic body that was bonded and fused with the original Gaian shadow etheric body forms. Like I said earlier, the artificial tree of life is the Kabbalah and the Jewish, Hebrew, Anunnaki cult, running like the banking system, and the source energy grid system and the religious system, where all of them were counterclockwise harvesting techniques, which goes back to the black cube. No doubt the red cube is the same. They asked the Muslim people or Islamists to go anti-clockwise around that black cube. You are being preyed upon. And this particular historical timeline trigger event of fusing multiple timelines with the Gaian shadow body is what runs the metatronic reversal patterns and artificial tree of life imprint throughout the Albion Cathar body template that is located in the United Kingdom. Now, Albion is the original name for the UK. And each dimensional sphere within the Albion Cathar or crystallar pattern must be rehabilitated and reconfigured into the correct manifestation template design for our original Gaian matrix Edenic coding that was held by the Azurites that existed in pre-fall 7D Gaia. And through Guardian Host Defender rehabilitation and rescue projects, we have noted that the Gaian shadow body was the first attempt of Wesser black hole entities to replicate an entire living planetary system from within our own universe. Now, I'm not familiar with the term Wesser, but we spoke about links to the Taurus constellation in a recent show, and perhaps this meaning of the term Wesser is fitting. Because according to Vedic astrology, Rashi for the name Wesser is Vrushab, and the moon sign associated with Wesser is Taurus. And Wesser is also said to be a Native American term. And guess what it means? A cat. What a co-cat-cidence that is. So WESs are cat black hole entities. Oh, I loved saying that. I can hear someone gurring away. Keep laughing, Russell. I know you are. And they accomplished this by pulling the organic living matrix within planetary bodies into their phantom matrix via artificially replicated systems that were forming shadow planet doubles. Oops. And generating an AI version of our system's planetary matrices that are reconfigured by AI systems to exist in a base 10 ones and zeros reversal current shadow form. And what that is describing is the two worlds and the third world we discussed in when two worlds become three. And thus we have observed several phantom planets that appeared in the artificial timelines that were spun off from the original Gaian shadow body, such as the AI matrix replication of the Lyran founder Sunstar and Arcturus in pre-matter, as well as the planets Tara, Tiamat, so perhaps it's not the same, Mars, Maldek, Saturn and Nibiru. And apparently Nibiru also has a pre-invasion matrix that exists as the organic 12th planet in the timelines. 12 plus 1. Before the Thoth, Enki, Enlil collectives from Sirius A took it over and weaponized it against the Earth. I told you neither Enki or Enlil were for our benefit. And neither is Thoth. And additionally, the destruction of Gaia generated a chain of causal events which impacted many other neighbouring living systems, such as parts of Andromeda, Sirius and other star systems that fell into the Weser Tunnel and became trapped within its phantom parts. Now, the tunnel aspect we discussed a long time back, but referenced it again recently as scientists have finally grasped it. Now, I witnessed the tunnel or vortex back in 2013, and we are emerging from it. When, you may ask? When the time is right. And no one knows the dates. Now, there are windows of opportunities though, and one is coming up fairly soon. Now, parts of the Gaian shadow matrix merge with other fallen matrices that were interconnected, sending many advanced levels of ascended master collectives to be sucked down into the Weser system's phantom parts. Now, ascended master is nothing to do with the alt media bullshit that they put out. These are beings who have soul developed beyond the planetary level development, and the Vedic term for them is the gods, not the God, which is what these psychopaths, Black Sun and Egyptian gods, have been trying to replicate. And this included the Guardian Azurite identities that were originally seeded upon Gaia to embody the entire Gaian matrix for ensuring founder presence was maintained upon the planet. Now, the destruction of Guardian Azurites and the conquering of the organic living system in the Gaian matrix also destroyed the Guardian Azurite race lines in our universe that were sent here by the founder races, maybe known as the Ancients. And the original Guardian Azurites were the 48-stranded angelic beings that sourced from each founder ray braided into the cosmic trinity, the Emerald Order, the Amethyst Order, and the Gold Order. And they were able to project themselves into any dimensional level between pre-matter levels, etheric, and into any kind of matter form. And the original Guardian Azurites were on Gaia, were captured by the invading entities, while others suffered serious genetic digression during the Gaian Wars, when their consciousness race lines were fused into the AI-coded Gaian shadow body that was inserted into the artificial timelines. The metaverse, anybody? And some Azurites were taken into the Wessa system and their genetic template, and every part of their etheric body was taken apart and mapped by AI supercomputer systems to generate Metatronic coding or Antichrist architecture. One has to wonder about the quantum system with the use of the term mapping, although I have worked with it and was in part rewriting it. But perhaps that needs another review given the fall of the trustee. Now, consequently, the invasion of Gaia, including excruciatingly painful memories of being separated from our unique soul and monadic families. And yes, that will be a trigger for some of you again. As well as being separated from particle-antiparticle doubles, which later evolved into our genetic equal or herogamic sacred union partner. And we suffered from the loss in which one or more stations of identity connected as our genetic equal or monadic twin may have been sucked down into the phantom layers and slowly turned into an AI hybridized version of themselves. And this is the digital twins we spoke of recently, and is linked with the clowns rebuilding another AI based on the old system, all of which confirms what I have stated earlier, that the old AI went down in November of 2015. Now, others in the alt media may deny it, but why are the clowns trying to recreate something if the original still exists? It doesn't. That original psychotic AI went down in November of 15. Now, after the Gaian War, the Orophim were seeded by the founder races with the sacred mission to find lost Azurite identities and take their place as guardians, gradually rebuilding the Azurite genetic shield through the Emerald Order's direct instruction and guidance. And by merging the Lyran, Elohim, Anuhazi template with the Azurite genetic record, the Orophim were tasked to find, rehabilitate and return the lost Azurite identities back to their true spiritual home in the God worlds. And it's all about the names and the words again. Anuhazi or Elohim doesn't sit well with me too much. And these Orophim are listed as Lyran Sirius A, Feline Hominid, Sirius B, Azurite Yarni, also Feline Hominid, mixed with the Avian Hominid and the Brahma Inya Cetacean, which are whales and dolphins, plus Pleiadian ceres, which are cerebral avian hominids. Now, although one can't brush all individual species into one trait or characteristic, as many groups fell, and all were twisted into dark forces types, but I will keep an open mind on these Orophim. Now, many of the Orophim have been intentionally mission-coded to go and find their beloved Azurite monadic family members that were sucked into phantom areas in order to reclaim their body parts back into spiritual integration and Christic wholeness, which was made possible from accessing the Edenic coding they held on the pre-fall of Gaia. And the Orophim, it is said, have been given full spectrum access to the original Azurite genetic template and the hierogamic union, which is the Logos template, for recoding lost Azurite and Ascended Master Christos collectives, for the purpose of recollecting and rescuing any Azurite and Ascended Master collective family that fell into the Phantom and was assimilated into an AI version of the Wesser entities. And as a result, the Orophim have direct links to the Ascended Masters and genetic equals that are directly connected to the Azurite genetic template histories from Gaia. Thus, the mission of hierogamic union is to reclaim and restore the true genetic equals, so that they find each other and through the power of eternal spiritual love unite to form sacred unions which are designed to heal the Holocaust timelines and the wars on Gaia, Tara and Earth, all in simultaneous time. That is what is unfolding. Now, the genetic mapping of Azurite DNA and Azazel. The genetic mapping of the DNA of the Azurites, which formed into the consciousness data of authentic Ascended Masters in our universe, was uploaded into AI beast machine technology systems for generating Antichrist pillars, as the black hole entities desired to create a super master race as a shadow army for conquering our universe. The very ones who were really creating a super master race are the ones that accuse their enemies of doing the same. World War II, anyone? And the stolen Azurite genetic template was replicated and cloned through AI quantum server systems, and these AI hybrid race lines are known as the Azazel Gestalt. Now, the Azazel Gestalt gain access onto the Earth through human beings that act as their proxy, as a dark consciousness portal, and thus they seek out any starseed or indigo individual with Azurite genetic memory record in their bloodline and attempt to possess and gain control over that individual through any means possible. And the danger of holding or accessing any Azurite memories from Gaia, which includes Ascended Masters, Christos collectives and their known identities in hidden human history, is that all of these identities will be tracked in the field for Azazel possession. And it is important to understand that the more famous and well-known Ascended Master identities have been directly fused with the Gaian shadow body in which Azazel and the related Gestalts attempt to hunt down and do whatever they can to corrupt or possess the awakening individual that holds any remnant of Azurite coding. And this may describe as to why so many of us have been targeted here, since a young child in most cases. And the term I've used before came to mind in that passage, the lock and key. Now, sometimes genetic coding can be triggered by another into developing into the whole. Thus, the firm warning stands that under no circumstances should the awakening starseed or indigo people attach to any identities and become fixated upon them during this cycle. This is all about you. And the war to clone and generate imposter identities from the Ascended Master collectives and all levels of the original Christos race lines is at an all-time high during the current consciousness war. And the Azazel black hole entities have taken on the original Azurite genetic coding from Gaia and have made an AI replicated body which may appear to be similar in appearance to the original Azurites. And these imposters can appear in their outer form as tall whites, tall slender humans with extremely pale white translucent skin, and many times with platinum white hair. Sounds like the president. Indeed, the X1 as well. And these entities, masquerading as ascended masters in tall white human-like bodies, are some of the most violent and vicious anti-human black hole entities ever known. Now, the tall whites resemble or are what we call albinos. Remember the flagellating guy in the Angels and Demons movies, or the Watchers in the series Fringe, because that's what we're looking at here. Now, many of them appear human, but are actually insectoid races from the Wesser system that are using an AI replicated Azurite genetic code package that can be used for shape-shifting. And these black hole entities show up as the false Ascended Master lineages that hijack the original Guardian Azurite and Ruby Sun genetic coding in order to appear human or like popular Ascended Masters. And this realm of the imposters also includes the Luciferian bloodlines that are operating at the top levels in the power elite cabal, who are fond of using cloning, genetic modification, or holographic inserts to increase the power and influence of that cabal representative on the Earth plane. And unfortunately, this has given them access to previous Ascended Master timeline records, in which they can gain rapid esoteric spiritual knowledge about the Lord of One, and then repeat phrases they get from the data streams that the AI quantum server feeds to them directly. Sounds like mantra chanting that to me. Repeat after me. Sounds like the school system. Repeat after me. Sounds like the medical system. Repeat after me, get jabbed. And sounds like the government, see papers please. And these imposters can begin to share true, accurate and authentic spiritual teachings with their followers that takes a turn later on when they are being assimilated more deeply into the Metatronic coding and artificial timelines. And as mentioned earlier about them rebuilding a new AI in the copy of the old AI, is it a coincidence the old one was also called Metatronic, and the new one incorporates Metaverse? Now, the Azazel Gestalt are connected with the Thothian entities, which appear to hijack those with Azurite memory and use sophisticated psychological warfare and gaslighting in the New Age channelings to derail spiritually awakening people. And it should be noted, the Jewish Hebrew group all worship Azazel, like they worship Samael, who was a demon, Lilith, who was half woman, half serpent, and part of the Saturn Moon Matrix program that tied all women by blood ritual cycles to the moon, and they worship Lucifer. And these Azazel Gestalts contact those awakening groups in order to scramble organic genetic coding, and by representing themselves as authentic ascended masters or advanced benevolent extra-dimensional entities to those particular groups. Savior programs again, that cannot tell the difference between an AI signal and organic consciousness language. And this is describing the channeling we speak of. Like it says, it is an AI signal, largely being ran by the drone greys on behalf of their slave masters. And so now you know why we banned it on the Cosmic Voice page back in 2013. Everyone was being duped again. And this is very painful to the human race, because this data stream can feel like the ascended masters that we love and hold dear to our hearts, as these are humanity's true spiritual family, and many are based on the Azurites that we remember from the timelines before the Gaian Wars. And once we can discern AI signals and Metatronic coding in data streams, only then can we find out these Wesser entities have been using AI replicated clones to manipulate our emotions and past memories to hijack our original angelic human genetic template. Now, the black hole entities do not want any starseed to access their authentic and original Azurite coding history from the Gaian timelines, because if this memory activates, they will begin to see the authentic Yeshua and other ascended master history, and be able to detect false identities or artificial timelines being promoted by imposters. Now, I'm not sure myself personally on this Yeshua character or entity. Yeshua may be correct, but please don't link it to the Jesus story, as Jesus is linked far too closely with Julius Caesar and or Horus. But this is describing the shadow and inner work we introduced back in 2015. May, to be precise. And once done enough, you see. And then you will sense what is organic and inorganic, and it will become crystal clear. Who are the false entities here to hijack and enslave humanity, and who are the authentic members of our true spiritual family, leading us to open our sacred crystal heart and align with the path of self-sovereignty and gnosis. And those are the skill sets that await you all, for the ones who soul develop into and onto the mental planes and beyond. It has absolutely immeasurable value. And like I said in an earlier show, once you know your true self and value, the idea of ranking it with how many pieces of paper you have or earned will seem absolutely absurd. Right, where are we heading off to next? The Red Nile Cube WESA program. And these entities attempt to hijack those with the Azurite memories on Gaia by running the Red Nile Cube coding in their target light body, which includes inverted 7D violet ray transmissions of phantom codes from the Gaian shadow body and false feminine violet reversals that run imposter identities using the ruby sun DNA, magenta beetle and red spider programming. And that is more of the colour coding programs we've spoken about. The New Age violet flame bullshit is the false feminine frequency colour code. Oops. Now the Red Spider program, indeed, I came across them in 2015 and was connected to the old AI. If Holly and Michelle can post picture 1, please. Now, the Red Nile Cube matrix from WESA generates an internal feedback loop in the crown area, like a crown of thorns, running into the base root of the perineum through the microcosmic orbit circuitry in the spinal column. As above, so below. The microcosmic orbit circuitry in the spinal column. And that kind of explains the dueling hemispheres I've described and how to counteract it and develop the sword. And this generates false timeline perception by altering the consciousness body north position to invert upon itself, so that the person perceives moving towards the future timeline, but they are actually facing into the past timeline and into an AI phantom time loop. Remember the egg timer? As you go down, east is on the left, west is on the right. As you come up and they flip it, you think you go right when it's actually left. That's what they were doing. And you can see some of that with the picture posted on Facebook and the MeWe chats. And that's its effect, and shows how far they can meddle with the brain function that you can bypass by overtaking the brain and integrating the heart. And what it does, it creates what is known as the black flower Baphomet pulses. Oops. Which is an interesting term in and of itself. But perhaps more interesting for me in particular, given my grandchild mentioned my ex-wife as the black flower along with my eldest son. And it creates bindings and we have spoken of this quite a lot in our shows. The circle, the ring, both of which in one format includes the clowns. Cirque du Soleil. Disney again. But the most common form known of bindings is A, the wedding ring, which cuts off the flow to the heart. Yes, the left fourth finger is connected directly to the heart. And the B, the word covenant, is a binding, and also testament is a binding. And a binding is a contract, which too few of us realised we were contracting with. Having done so by contracting, we ended up contracting or reducing ourselves. And what this then does is, it powers the Azazel and Lilith programs. Now, humans running the AI red, violet, magenta wave programs are what feed into the AI Dark Mother lunar gestalts, spawning false holograms of cloned ascended master identities, which also power up the Azazel gestalt. Now, the Dark Mother we know as the Kali Ma, but upon pondering those words, something else sprung to mind. And the word dark means hidden as well. And so the dark, hidden mother, in those terms, explains the Catholic Church leaving out the mother. And in their mantra, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost or Spirit. And the mother is missing because she has gone dark or hidden. And this weapon is designed for the vilest NAA entities to station themselves in the artificial timelines, pretending to be ascended masters or friendly advanced humans from the future, who mostly appear in Ruby Sun DNA clone bodies with azurite features. And we've had many of them in the alt media, not as much since our show came along and trashed them all. But if you go back somewhere between 2005 and 2014, it was riddled with these types of clown entities. Now, the Red Nile Cube is an advanced Wesser AI weapon with extensive programming used to continually clone and spin out false holograms of Christus, Diamond, Sun, DNA families, Azurites, and Ascended Master Christos lineages in this universe and also in the Wesser. And this AI weapon is cube technology that is used as a cloaking device for the NAA, Negative Alien Agenda, to parade false identities and generating phantom pockets to hide the many layers of hierarchies that form into the Wesser shadow armies. As in an addendum, and haven't just read that line again, to parade false identities and generating phantom pockets, particularly the phantom pockets. That is the astral trap, because the current astral is a phantom pocket, including heaven and hell. Both are traps. Now, the Red Nile or Red Cube AI programs are used by assorted Black Sun entities known as the Borga, Dragon Moth, Marduk, Necromyton, Enlil, Odicron, insectoids, red spider, arachnids, black dragon gestalts, and assorted lunar female demons. Now, the Borger from the black hole system inserted this virus with AI programming into our matrix, creating a time rip with technology called victimizer software. And these entities were introduced to the mainstream as the Borg in the Star Trek franchise. Now, the Borg are cybernetic organisms linked into a hive mind called the Collective. And the Borg co-opt the technology and knowledge of other alien species into the Collective through the process of assimilation, forcibly transforming individual beings into drones, bots, by injecting nanoprobes into their bodies and surgically augmenting them with cybernetic components. There's an awful lot of R's going on now. Perhaps I'll repeat that again. The Borg co-opt the technology and knowledge of other alien species into the Collective through the process of assimilation, forcibly transforming individual beings into drones by injecting nanoprobes into their bodies and surgically augmenting them with cybernetic components. They are the bots. And that description could well be attached to the jabs circulating the world currently, which may bring alarm, but it's not like we weren't warned. Or they just chose not to listen. Gates told you the jab was a software upgrade. But unless you're a computer or a bot, why would you need a software upgrade? You get upgrades directly from source, not jackass medical people. But the hive mind collective, is that not what too many people are like on this planet? Are they the people from the Extinction movie? Think deeply on that. But what if their coding has been interfered with? Then the meme #delete will unfold. And these red cube shadow identities are generated like digital twins, and they attach to an AI version of a Christos identity and a shadow imposter into the light body of an awakening person or channeler who believes this ascended master or enlightened extra-dimensional is communicating with them. The shadows we speak of, they can only attach to the shadows if you have not integrated them, because the shadows hang outside of your PSI field or aura. And it's been noted that the targeting of the red Nile cube is especially prevalent with ruby sun DNA identities from the Egyptian pharaonic dynastic lineages. Well, I never. Which appear to be the direct genetic template of the Serras Egyptians on Tara, and thus heavily favoured by the Satanic Cabal members. The Egyptians again, who are not Egyptians at all. In fact, they're not even from this planet. And in order for the ruby sun DNA to function as immortal bodies for the black sun entities on Earth, that were incarnating their essence into the human DNA template, they required extensive blood sacrifice in order to continue to impersonate and appear as human beings to the public. Oops. Here comes the vampires, the bloodsuckers, and the life force energy harvesters. A common agenda word recently has been trans, followed by gender, formation, human, and in the bloodsuckers' case, Sylvania. And perhaps the trans program has a whole new meaning now. But blood sacrifice in large amounts generates a type of sorcery for mind control, so that authentic, angelic, ensouled humans would not know the difference of the imposter non-human entity having hijacked the human body, which is then placed in the top levels of positions of power. Do you still think Trump was for our benefit? And some of the controllers that appear to be human actually are not human souls, but assorted NAA entities that have infiltrated human civilization in order to carry out the NAA agenda. Like I said, NAA means negative alien agenda. And these non-human entities are at the top power positions of global satanic control, such as the big pharmaceutical transnational corporations and medical mafioso. And one such white Draco entity is Pindar, who projects his consciousness and energy signature into those he favours in the United Kingdom, who are of the alien hybrid bloodlines, and they specifically groomed over thousands of years to rule the earth. Now that group is likely the London-based World Government and Council, made up entirely of off-world species, and is situated under Canary Wharf. Oops. Did I say Canary Wharf? Oh, it seems I did. We see you. And there is a massive shaft and tunnel system underneath there for the largely underground critters. Now, additionally, the Red Cube AI technology is designed to be a genetic code crasher for the anti-herogamic union, or to create interference through an alien love bite scenario that engages that person in heavy emotional dramas via the victim-victimizer archetypes, and also mistaken identity, which then, by keeping the inner and outer gender principles split apart. And this is what we have spoken about of the internal and external shadows and integrating them. Once healing that shadow or trauma is completed. Now, the victimhood program is heavy in many due to the low self-worth, insecurity and unbalanced ego. Because those with heavy ego are masking low self-worth and insecurity by overinflating their worth externally. And the Red Cube technology capitalizes on that painful emotional astral damage and the mistaken identity, then confusing the identities so that the target can't tell who is who. What are the false timelines and the imposters versus the authentic identity? And the targeted person can make the mistake AI digital twins inserted into their hologram as the twin soul, or whatever else can be included to interfere with the integrated spiritual ascension by confusing them. And this is what we mentioned earlier about mistaken identity or going for the hero-savior archetypes. And it leads to certain people being targeted who they believing they are this special identity from an inserted digital twin of a cloned ascended master in their light body, which then runs the AI red wave, the false feminine violet programming, or other artificial frequencies. Now, much of the red Nile cube technology has been and is in the process of being destroyed in the planetary field as the new Gaian matrix and universal mother dark matter matrix help to override this extensive holographic damage, spinning out artificial cloned identities. Like I said, personally, I don't like either of those terms, Gaian matrix and universal mother dark matter matrix. But I can confirm much of the rogue technology implemented here was removed and or deleted, particularly around the time period of 2013 to 2015. However, there are remnants and residue that are held in place as mind control structures within the light body of many people that are running false female artificial frequencies, and thus the Black Sun entities will attempt to capitalize upon this confusion in any way they can. This is why we have focused on the healing of the female with our show, because it has far more relevance and importance than the male counterpart at this point in time. Now, with the recent events of the winter solstice gold body activation occurred when the white gold flame in the core of Gaia was completely merged within the metagalactic core, finally evicting the black sun of the Gaian phantom body and the black hole entities that were stationed in the 8D portal access, and the return of the solar rishi, the amethyst order RHA families, and the white fire gold body activation event in the Gaian core then opened up access in the Paradisian root race timelines that evolved upon Gaia, which are the future race lines that fulfilled the ascension promise for angelic humanity. Now, current Guardian projects including linking access into organic 7D portals directly into the Gaian matrix for supporting humanity in the lower timelines on Earth, and access into the Gaian Ascension template and Edenic Azurite codes has opened up specific correspondence in the planetary grid, which are assisting in the clearing of the indigo and violet ray distortions, as well as continuing to support in the easier removal of the 666 seal and wing trauma. Though I personally wouldn't describe those things with those labels, I can confirm much progress has been made on the other side of our 3D reality. Now, we mentioned the removal of the large black hole on our show 2 years ago and predicted more star growth, which has since been confirmed by science. And much of their weaponry technology designed to spy, harvest, manipulate and mind control has been removed, although clowns are attempting to replicate it again via the Great Reset and the Metaverse AI technology. And although the Red Nile Cube is an extremely aggressive AI weapon, we have made it to the other side with the Gaian Matrix Emancipation, in which this Wesser AI technology is dying as it is being starved out of the consciousness energy that it requires. Like I said, it's all very simple to cut them off. You just don't comply. Don't give them your energy. The Hyperborean Holocaust timeline collapse is next. And through these very positive events, the Gaian phantom body has been dismantled and it can no longer be used to broadcast human Holocaust timelines that were being sent into the Earth grid from the Black Sun, which was the result of the destruction of the Guardian Azurites and the Hyperborean Holocaust. And the seeds of this root race trauma on Gaia in the antiparticle layers were being used to enslave humanity in recurring and replaying Holocaust timelines on Earth. And that is the 13,000-year time loops events we have described previously. 6 loops of 13,000 years totaling 78,000 years, which was around the time that Lucifer brought his jet black race army to defeat the white race. Now, not all the white race were white skin coloured, to be clear, and that was the name given by the Vedics around 110,000 years ago, although the white race predates that by many hundreds of thousands of years previously. And this can be evidenced by the Black Sun influence through the Nordic aliens and tall whites, gaining control of the Nazi regime with Hitler's obsession with Hyperborea. There was a reason for that, which may not be as history as told, which energetically connects and leads into every genocidal campaign in human history. And reclaiming Gaian memories and clearing the pain of the Polarians, Hyperboreans and Azurites in the Gaian timelines may be productive now that the Paradisian races have fulfilled their ascension promise for all angelic humans in the future. Also, the false holograms of Hyperborea were used to project an array of extremely negative archetypal forces into the 7D violet ray, and to transmit these distortions through our local constellations to enforce the many Greek tragedies we have been told in regard to the Olympians, Titans and the Giants. And these creation stories were connected to collective consciousness mind control being sent through an assortment of archetypal dramas designed to amplify the negative ego mindset on the earth and propagate primitive, angry and violent emotions in humanity, which brings in the low self-worth. And the Hyperborean Holocaust of the Azurites has a deep connection into the roots of Greece and the Greek islands in the Ionian Sea and in the northern areas of Scotland. The unholy trinity of Antichrist Northern Pillar. And Guardian projects have included the systematic dismantling of Antichrist pillars holding cardinal directions in timelines. The news, north, east, west and south, along with the Metatronic architecture that has been used to hijack the organic timelines and reroute them through the Phantom for AI replication. And the emphasis has been on dismantling the most powerful Antichrist Northern Pillar, in which a three-faced entity, Pindar, Thoth and Azazel, was using stolen Azurite DNA from Wessa and the Gaian Phantom body to run reversal current into the entire planetary grid for holding the northern position in the Antichrist positions of the clock shield. And the effects of this Antichrist pillar, overseen by the Pindar Draco alien and its minions, has extensive alien networks spreading its tentacles throughout the United Kingdom and up into the Highlands of Scotland, which has a direct conduit leading into the 7D Gaian matrix. Now one wonders whether that is directly connected to the Rose line that starts in France and ends up at Roslin Chapel. Roslin equals Rose line. And it's important to remember that these same Draco AI hybrid entities infiltrated the top of the pyramid of the One World Order controller structures, who are taking orders from the Black Sun, which is being directed by the Pindar, Thoth, Azazel Gestalts, enmeshed with AI supercomputers and their artificial timeline programs. And Pindar, Thoth and Azazel shadow forms have been more present as they are being cleared away from our light body, as the Antichrist Northern Pillar is being demolished and these vandals are being evicted from the earth. And these parasitic attachments were made to leech upon our Gaian, monadic and Taran soul timeline histories. And in order to keep our consciousness split and light body pointed towards the Antichrist northern position of the Black Sun, so we could not reclaim the full diamond sun body template of angelic humanity. Remember, our planet is not pointing directly north anymore, and that's also part of the damage, which is also being corrected, I might add. Now, it's interesting the use of the term diamond, the full diamond sun body template, because a full diamond shape is the triangle pointing up and in reverse pointing down. The top triangle slipped halfway down and creates the six-pointed star, which could well symbolize the fall of man due to these parasites connected at the highest levels to Jewish elites. But rest assured, we are about to wash away their reign over us. Black hole sun, won't you come? Because we'll wash away your reign once and for all. Now, there is a physical entity that is the white Draco or dragon moth that considers itself supreme royalty. It's not how I would describe it personally, but they do kind of think highly of themselves. And these are the white-winged Draco shown in hieroglyphs and depicted in the biblical scriptures as angels. And they're far from angelic as we would understand it. Anu has white wings, or had, as did many others of their ilk, and many of the earth royalty are linked in with these under the term blue bloods. Now, this white Draco merged its hive mind consciousness with the AI uploaded brain of Thoth, along with merging its consciousness with a third identity, Azazel. And Azazel was generated from the Azurite DNA genetic mapping in the Western matrix, and so it is an AI hybrid shadow entity that has access to the Azurite memories on Gaia. And this also seems to be the main genetic lineages of the dark Azrael, or dark archangelic forces, manufactured in Weta as the AI hybrid shadow armies to conquer this universe, that are purely satanic consciousness Gestalts that were replicated into the fallen seraphim lines. And this entity's tri-merge with the AI-generated Luciferian and satanic consciousness is the result of consciousness uploading and brain mapping, through which the Pindar dragon moth creature takes on a human form to get around on the earth, but is clearly not human. Hello Obama, hello Hillary, hello Putin. And Pindar represents himself as the supreme purebred royal leader of the earth for serving the Draco Empire, and heads up all the bloodline families in a top-down pyramid of mafioso control. And apparently he's at the top of the pyramid as the hidden capstone. Why do you think the capstone is missing at Giza? And all under him must take his orders down the chain of command or suffer punishment, torture or death. And the Pindar entity assigns positions and roles throughout the organised hierarchy of the Antichrist and Satanic councils, and many are holders in positions of running specific alien machinery, other networks and pillars which connect directly to run reversals in the cardinal directions, and also called the inorganic four. So east became west, and west became east, north became south, and south became north. As above, so below. As within, so without. And the Pindar oversees the geopolitical operations globally, but his merged AI consciousness with the AI Thoth and AI Azazel holds the Antichrist architecture for running the beast machine throughout the northern pillar. Now this position is the most important cardinal direction, which oversees the landmass of the United Kingdom, the entire North American and Antarctica regions. And this means Pindar is overseeing all the main spiritual gateways, such as the 11D Stonehenge, 9D Antarctica and North America, such as Stargate 1, Innergate Cyprus and Northern Arizona. Interesting they mentioned Northern Arizona, as one ponders whether that is the petrified forest, given I was called to go there recently. But another interesting part of northern Arizona is the town called Page. The underground tunnel from Dulce to Catalina Island runs underneath that town. It also goes north from Page to Area 52, called Dugway. And the point is known that Pindar is the top of the chain holding the northern position, and he assigns other entities to hold the southern position, the eastern position and the western position for running beast machine reversals and carrying out the NAA agendas for the one world order. And this particular Antichrist architecture is what has controlled the Magi crown alignments that hold the crystal compass directions, and this is the organic consciousness code alignments that the Guardians are correcting and bringing online with the solar and gold body activations at this time. Now I am aware of the solar and gold body activations, not the New Age violet body activations, and it is an extraordinary event to experience. The golden column stream that pours through the crown and filters all the way through your body, which is visible for those who can see. Now solar activations allow for the holder to go into the sun for healing and energy recharging. But keep in mind that these black sun entities like Pindar have stolen Christos coding and the God Creator Code for their use to gain power over humanity through the law of reversals or anti-life. And whatever Satanists hold up as holy in numbers, such as using Trinity patterns in threes, or the number 13, 12 plus 1, always 1 hidden, or the 13th pillar, is stolen Creator Code they use in reversible principle in order to gain power for satanic forces in their organized rituals. Everything is backwards, everything is upside down springs to mind here, and it's something that I knew and felt pre-teenage years, but was unable to formulate it back then. But the use of the 13th pillar in satanic ritual is stolen directly from the mother aspect of the Godhead or source to generate satanic and lunar force demons that run the dark alien mother and Baphomet distortions. And everything that they carry out in satanic ritual is in reversals or inversions to the organic Creator Code, which is the intentional abomination to desecrate our sacred alignment with Source and Christ, and ultimately designed to defile and debase humanity by tricking them to worship their own demise. Like we said, you're not praying, you're being preyed upon, which brings your own demise. And Pindar seems to have been heavily involved, giving orders to run the world conglomerates of transnational businesses, such as giving orders to the Council of 300, with the main goal of manipulating the geopolitical environment. And Pindar enjoys staging proxy wars for proxy nations for their massive corporate entities and the running of industries that serves the Draco Empire, such as mass human trafficking and child trafficking off-planet, and setting up empires or colonies on other planets from Earth's stolen resources. Now Pindar, which means head penis of the dragon or Drakon, which is Drac or Draco, is essentially an elevated puppet given a little bit of power which goes to their head, whether that's the northern head or the southern head, and they go psychotic. And the overlords do this often. They give useless awards and titles and watch the self-important humans, or not humans in some cases, think they're also important and special, when in reality land they are mere pawns in a much larger game. Too few of them understand the scope of it. Now the Pindar position has been left void since around 2018, and I can confirm that, although that was according to another person who prefers collecting titles of self-importance instead of doing important work. But whether that is correct or not is not really that relevant, given how far down the line we are. And this is run at the top by anti-human, non-human forces, and these are draconian entities that comprise the Orion Group and Alpha Draconis, whose flag is the six-pointed star, I might add, who created partnerships with those Luciferian bloodlines that have the most significant amount of reptilian DNA from thousands of years of genetic modification and alien hybridization. Say hello to the Rothschilds clan, as their importance and global wealth was obtained by this very reason. They have the most reptilian DNA than any other family, but they are mere puppets as well. And what is being witnessed currently is the interdimensional geomapping of the Antichrist architecture that holds the structures for the dimensional layers of alien hierarchy for the purpose of serving these lesser alien predators and running their AI shadow armies. Shadow being the operative word. And the holographic mapping and tracking of beast machine coordinate locations in the directional nodes of running these reversals and AI current is in order to get these satanic nests deep at the root of their infection in the earth so that they can be more effectively extracted altogether. The rotten apple always falls from the tree. It's sometimes best not to shake it, because you miss other rotten apples. And it's only a matter of time, and in the heat of this battle for Earth, now that the Solar Rishi have come into our dimension, the Guardians are throwing down the gauntlet now. And the Solar Rishi are the first triad of light manifestations to make the universal trinity that are projected from the Emerald Order and Blue Flame, Gold Order and Gold Flame, and Amethyst Order and Violet Flame from the God Source Field, and the threefold Founder Flame, or known as the Cosmic Trinity. The Trinity, they say. Perhaps that is the one-on-one with the one. Now, with the return of the Solar Rishi into dimensionalization, there are many special operation teams forming now that are strategically organized to find souls in very fragile states and delicate situations based upon the level of trauma that has been suffered as a result of repeatedly incarnating on a prison planet. And the process of liberating Earth from being used as a prison colony and the satanic ritual abuse human farming system by the NAA forces is directly relative to the spiritual ascension cycle and ultimately achieving planetary emancipation. And we are enduring the most difficult time cycle of the planetary emancipation now, in which we are waiting for the critical mass for a full disclosure event to wake up those completely brainwashed by the cabal pandemic death cult. And those that are willingly participating in the spread of worldwide genocidal agendas at the behest of archontic controllers. The Special Operations Teams are under the umbrella of the Interdimensional Free World Councils and Defender Guardian Forces that have expertise in certain skill sets that are needed to identify, locate, remove and repair an assortment of traumatic issues that have contributed to soul fracturing, excessive spiritual trauma and consciousness traps. And this includes exposures to the alien machinery and nets embedded in the earth, which have functions for operating such things as electrocution fences, blank slating, alien implants, electromagnetic weaponry, genetic experiments, alien hybridization, technological mind control programs, AI assimilation, transhuman experiments, timeline distortion and blending realities, inserting false memories and identities, astral raping, and guarding soul prison colonies scattered upon the Earth and the other planets. Now this doubles down on our theory that was put out 2 or 3 years ago, asking the question, was the electromagnetic field the veil? Indeed it was. And the soul prison colonies or consciousness traps are guarded by AI assimilated entities and interdimensional machinery that have been engineered to perform this specific function as the border guards of the Matrix. Some of you may remember me speaking of the ninjas that came out of the Shiva egregore statue in front of CERN. That is what's just been described. And this is for the purpose of keeping spiritually activated souls or powerful Christos warriors from leaving the boundaries of their dimensional control through electrocution via frequency fences, electromagnetic targeting, mind wiping and attaching false identities. Now some can escape them and have, particularly more so since 2012. Now to avoid these traps we must know they exist and focus our mind to identify the differences between artificial technology used as consciousness traps and organic creator code consciousness that is directly connected to the 0 point and God source. And as we spiritually awaken and clear the negative ego to expand our consciousness and reclaim organic memories, we begin to remember ourselves as eternal spiritual beings. And this then gives us the spiritual power to dismantle the prison planet machinery. Now there are many of us that may be starting to remember that we are a part of these defender forces or special operation teams that are involved in multi-dimensional soul retrievals, finding and escorting groups to safe harbour, or performing transits for safe passage into Guardian-hosted safe zones. And many have sleep state adventures or memories surfacing that relate to soul retrieval projects, rescuing souls stuck in death traps such as the lunar matrix or the black hole technology nets, and redirecting those groups to Guardian host platforms for safe passage. Now, a lot of what was just mentioned took place in my knowledge during the time period known as 2013 and 2015, when a number of their leading technology machines and programs went down. Now, some have followed since, as well as other more recent events, including a transmitting beam from a body close to the moon that was beaming directly at this planet. That was stopped earlier last month. And recently a special op has been involved in the safe transit of people that have been mutilated by the injection and the AI related signal spray with the CV insignia connected to GOAT, G-O-A-T, that has rendered them in the past timeline. Now, GOAT stands for the God of all things, and this insignia is satanic and appears as a Baphomet head that has overlaid itself on the person's brain and or 3D mental body. Remember the bizarre series The Pet Goat? Remember Idiot Bush or Bush Jr. reading the book The Pet Goat upside down? The inversion? Well, now you know why. And this is like an electrocuted brand in the person's head and crown, identifying them through this brand as satanic entity food. And perhaps the latest viral term replacing the red pilling piss take is "Let's Go Brandon," may bring more clarity. Let's go brand on. Branding like cattle. Anything that goes viral is mostly clown driven, and their algorithms block the public's viral posts or comments by and large. But one wonders whether the electrocuted brand in the person's head and crown is actually the voice-to-head technology that was used on the trustee last year and was removed in July, from which another programme kicked in, one more sinister and lasting it seems. It can be fixed, but arrogance and ego are the blockers in that case. And this is a recent development and seems to be a feature of the injection that is mixed in with the severe mind control of the victim, who then suffers from terrorizing fear, in which an inversion of the conscious body takes place, which thrusts their light body into a past timeline somewhere in the phantom 3D realms. And it appears they leveraged the GOAT brand recently with AI signals transmitted out from the satanic superb owl rituals. You may call it Super Bowl. In reality, it's the superb owl, Molech. And their pro-pagan Dar-based commercials. And people are being crossed over, got stuck in the past timeline of 3D from experiencing terror and confusion in the death process, which in combination with taking the injection does not move you into the light tunnel in which the false ascension matrix. Now what is being described there is newer technology, because the original Soul Trap tech was removed in 2014. And this supports something one or two of our members have stated in the past week, and work will be undertaken to correct that happenstance. And so what is happening instead is this fear plus nanotech programmed injection projects the conscious body backwards in time and staples them into some previous timeline in 3D in some kind of apparatus like a pocket or pit that is consciousness trap playing out repeatedly and memories of their own fears. Yet again, I think that's the astral. And the soul appears to be stuck in a consciousness trap somewhere in the past 3D timeline or an AI timeline pocket, and they appear to be, listen closely, zombified and or in a lot of emotional and physical pain. And there is a mountain of grief that is associated with this from all of us that are aware of the severe brainwashing that is happening right now. But the good news is that these people are being retrieved by special op teams, although the death that has occurred by injection or nano exposure is many more numbers than we have been led to believe by the lying mainstream media, confirming much of what we've said in our shows. And current Guardian projects are focused upon the electric war and the Gaia Matrix phantom timelines from millions of years ago, when the installation of sophisticated black hole technology from invading Wesser entities, all designed to generate soul capture devices through layers of frequency fences and the AI nets permeated into layers of our time matrix system. Thus, the Special Operation Team for accessing the Gaia matrix in pre-fall timelines to retrieve the original Azurite identities that were lost during the invasion is happening right now, which is a critical development in reclaiming the Azurite 48-stranded DNA cellular memories. Now, working up to handle this next stage of planetary emancipation, grid work has been rather tough in terms of physical symptoms to embody the solar Rishik braids, and to retrieve an ascended master that was lost, such as an Azurite, one has to be embodied as an ascended master of the same lineage. And many of us are connected to the Guardian teams realise that we have waited lifetimes to finally get to this exact moment when we have climbed and crawled through every crag to get to the very top of the mountain. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow till you find your dream. Because every mountain is access to the other realms. And finally, we are standing on the crest, peering into the capstone, where we are able to see everything around us clearly. And it's only a matter of time. Final portion of tonight's show. I said back in 2015, 16 and 2020 we will see. And from that time, see we have. We may not understand it all. That is for other dimensions and planes versions of you, because they will and do. But you are the eyes, ears, mind and heart in here creating the future breakthrough. When we finally come out on the other side, and the dark forces will be repelled enough for us to flourish once again. We can then set about teaching future generations so this abomination is never allowed near us again. And this confirms many of the things we've said in past shows, although with a differing explanation and the dreaded names and labels, which differs depending from where the information comes from. But the key components of the information is correct, and that is what matters here. And things have been done is the key component, not who did it at this stage. But perhaps now you will fully understand my frequent warnings surrounding technology. This is how dangerous it is on the higher levels, and it is just as dangerous at the lower levels, as many have succumbed to its seducement. Video games a major component of it, as they were inserting you into their metaverse reality and distorting what is real and what is not. But may those who witness these issues with this genocidal agenda and this toxic injection find the courage, find the strength to speak up and join together in truth. We are all we have. May peace be with all the truth tellers, and may peace be with all truth seekers. For it is the time of spiritual warfare, where no outer markers give us direction forward, only the power of our inner spiritual presence to direct us and guide us accordingly. As we walked through the valley of the shadow of death, we have and will fear no evil. For thou art with us, our rod and staff, they comfort us. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. See you all again in 48 hours. Bye for now.